The brands that grow the fastest are not the ones with the best ads. They're the ones that people can't stop buying from. There's a reason why someone orders AG1 every single month without ever thinking about it. And it's really not the product. It's not even the branding. It's actually psychology. Very specific, very deliberate psychology. And the brands that people describe as addictive have all figured out the same 5 things that most other brands haven't. My name is George. I run YOCTO. We are Klaviyo Elite partners, which means we're top 44 out of over 16,000 agencies globally, and I happen to work with subscription brands doing 9 figures a year in revenue. I also sit on Klaviyo's partner advisory council. In this video, I'm gonna break down the 5 psychological forces that make a brand addictive. And I'm gonna show you how to engineer them into your own brand, giving you a practical playbook to actually implement them. So by the end of this video, you're gonna look at every addictive brand in your life completely differently, and you're gonna know exactly what, if anything, you should implement in your own company. Before we get into strategy or tactics, you have to understand the underlying forces, because what you're actually doing when you build an addictive brand is not inventing something new. It's tapping into proven behavior patterns that are already wired into how humans make decisions. There are 5 of them, and every brand that feels impossible to quit is running at least 3 of them. The first force is what we call habit loops. Every habit has 3 parts. A cue, which is something in your environment that triggers the behavior, a routine, which is of course the behavior itself, and then a reward, which is the first thing your brain gets that makes it want to do it again. Morning coffee is a habit loop. You wake up, this is the cue. You make your coffee, this is your routine, and then the caffeine plus this start of day focus that you feel is the reward. Now, look at AG1, $600 million a year, one product. Why? Because when you subscribe, the first box comes with a stainless steel canister, a shaker bottle, and travel packs. And most people see this and they're like, okay, it's a nice welcome gift, but it's not just a gift, it's them trying to engineer a habit, because the canister is gonna sit on your kitchen counter, which is always gonna be a cue. The shaker is gonna make drinking it take 15 seconds, which helps the routine, and then the energy that you feel, this sense of, I actually did something healthy today, is the reward that you get, which is the habit loop closing. So by the time you could cancel, you've likely built a little bit of a habit, and then it's so much harder to move away from a habit than it is to just stop taking a product, especially once the product is actually part of your daily behavior. The second force is identity integration. People switch products all day long. What they don't easily switch is how they think about themselves. And the strongest brands in the world are not just selling a product. They give customers a way to describe themselves. I'm an AG1 person. I drink liquid death. At its peak, Peloton had 92% retention rate. 92 out of every 100 subscribers renewed month after month at $44 a month on top of a $1,500 bike. Those aren't people forgetting to cancel. Those are people who are actively seeing themselves as Peloton riders. The instructors, the leaderboards, the community, the hashtags, all of it pointed in one direction. And Peloton consequently stopped being something that you used. It became something that you actually wear. Liquid Death, water company whose customers tattoo the logo on their bodies. It's just water. Nobody's getting a tattoo for the water. They're getting a tattoo for the identity. Anti-mainstream, irreverent, rebellious. The product is just there. When a brand becomes part of your identity, canceling is a very, very difficult thing, because it feels like you're walking away from something that is part of who you are. Loss aversion. This is the third force. It comes from behavioral economics. The research is decades old and actually totally bulletproof. Losing $100 hurts more than gaining $100 feels good. It's roughly twice as much, which means the most powerful thing you can do as a brand isn't to just offer more value, it's to make canceling feel like a loss. Amazon Prime, the textbook example. People don't stay on Prime because of the 2-day shipping alone. They stay because canceling would mean giving up the 2-day shipping they've already built their expectations around. The Prime Video shows that they already watched. The Whole Foods discount. There's this accumulation of benefits that compounds, and then living is not that easy anymore because you're going to lose all of this. Costco does the same thing. You don't pay $65 a year to shop. You pay $65 a year to not give up the access that you already have. What can you do for your own brand? Maybe a price lock. Tell your existing subscribers that the rate is frozen, right? Like send an email every time you raise your prices for new customers, telling them that the rate has not changed. It takes almost nothing to do, and it creates this sense that they actually have something valuable that they will permanently lose by leaving. And when you give people enough of those somethings, canceling is very, very difficult. Force number 4 is variable rewards. Now, predictable value is what keeps people satisfied. Variable value creates this sense of obsession. This is the mechanism behind slot machines, behind Instagram scrolling, frankly, behind your dog freaking out every time you open the fridge. When the reward is consistent, over time, your brain gets gets used to it and you tune out of it. When the reward is not consistent, sometimes big, sometimes small, sometimes nothing, sometimes in between, sometimes a surprise, your brain lights up every single time. Stitch Fix is a great example. Every box is a surprise. Sometimes you love every piece, sometimes half, sometimes you return everything. But the moment the box arrives is always a little bit of anticipation, and that anticipation is the retention mechanism. Products like Whoop or Oura do the same thing with the daily recovery score. You don't know what your number is going to be when you wake up. Sometimes it's 95 and you feel like a god, and sometimes it's 42 and you regret your life choices. Either way, you open the app to find out every single morning. You don't, of course, need to have an algorithm to do this, right? Like what you can do in a very down-to-earth and practical way is vary what comes in the box. 1 month, there's a sample. Another month, there's a handwritten note. Another month, there's an invite to something special. They won't really know exactly what they're getting, but they will be excited to see what comes next. And this is an extremely powerful thing because regular billing reminders and shipment notifications are what triggers this thought of, do I really need this actually? But when the next shipment is coming with value, with a gift, with something surprising that you anticipate, you actually start thinking that, what am I going to get this time? And this is why all of the best brands are sending you free gifts all the time. It's essentially the same touch point. It's just that it comes with a completely different emotion. Internally, we call this moving from a billing moment to a gifting moment. The fifth force is progressive commitment. So here's what this means. People are far more likely to say yes to a big commitment if they've already said yes to smaller ones on the way there. This is how Hims built one of the stickiest subscription models in D2C. They do over $1 billion a year in revenue and they grow massively year over year. Now, the product itself, which is hair loss medication or ED medication and so on, is not exciting. Nobody is, emotionally attached to their finasteride. But the subscription is stickier than almost anything in the category because by the time you've subscribed, you've answered a medical consultation, you've shared your health history, you've received a personalized treatment plan, and you've spent 15 to 20 minutes doing so, right? So you said all of those little yeses before you are actually charged money. And canceling isn't just a billing decision now. It's not just that, okay, maybe I'm gonna try something cheaper. It also means that you need to find a new provider. You need to do another consultation. You need to hand over your medical history all over again. And then on top of this, you need to hope that the new plan will work as well as the one you are already on. So there's a very big switch cost there, right? It's time, it's effort, uncertainty, and on top of it, it's money. So it's very, very, very difficult. How can we bring this to your own brand's reality? Well, there's tons of e-commerce companies that do this with loyalty tiers, because every dollar you spend does what? It accumulates points that unlock new rewards, and then every dollar that you spend essentially will be wasted if you move and shop from somewhere else. The principle is actually the same, right? Everything that you do builds up your investment with that brand. This loyalty that people speak of is really all about this, creating a sense of commitment that you have already done something which has already resulted in some sort of financial or emotional payoff, which you're gonna lose if you walk out of the door and go to a competitor. So that's the foundation. Habit loops, identity integration, and loss aversion. Variable rewards and progressive commitment. Most brands are actually not running any of this, and if they do, they usually do so by accident. But the brands that people describe as addictive are running all five, and they are also doing this on purpose. Now, if you watched all of this and you're thinking, well, how do I actually perform in all of those dimensions? This is a conversation we're actually having very frequently with brands. There is a link down the video below, and you can book a conversation with us. We're gonna go through your lifecycle setup on a Klaviyo or a similar platform. We're gonna go through your e-commerce numbers on Shopify or a similar platform, and we're gonna look at your subscription program, whether it's recharge, ski or loop, stay, smarter, doesn't really matter. And then at the end, we're gonna give you a complete breakdown of where we think you have room to improve, what you're already doing well, because you might already be doing certain things well, and a prioritized roadmap with recommendations of what we think you should do next. And there's no commitment. You don't need to do this with us. You can literally walk away with the ideas. So the worst possible thing that can happen is that, you get a qualified second opinion. If you want to talk to us, there is a link to book a video down below.